Welcome home, Commando.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. Guys, we have Ando on with us today. We're going to talk about what makes someone good at Grand Arena. What makes a winner? It's something that I've always been super interested in. Ando, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. Doing great. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. No, you kind of had to ask, but it's
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 all good.
only it's only the right thing to do.
Yeah, yeah, it's a social contract, just
Yeah,
without Fin Poe and Han and Chewie. Yep.
that's right.
Yeah. So tell me, my friend. You've been doing Grand Arena for a while now. You're a streamer, and guys, do yourselves a favor. Go follow his channel and Twitch, like his YouTube channel and Twitch. Both awesome places to be. Puts on a really good show on Twitch, and Ando is part of the Gambit Alliance, etc. So love his stuff. At, at any rate, you've been Ando, you've been doing this streaming thing for a little bit. Uh, you win sometimes, right?
Every once in a while I will. Every once in a while I get lucky and pull out a few W's.
And that's obviously it's being super modest. Watching you play, you have a pretty different play style, and yet we were talking before the stream, you and I both play a pretty different play style from each other, and all the Gambit guys do. And kind of the idea here is just to discuss like what kind of common themes are there to winning. Like what's our approach? What kind of things are the same like to winning? Is it just random chance or what? So I wanted to kind of get you here to get your thoughts on it. What's what would you say is like one of the most important things you do in GAC, like to try to prep for it and stuff? Like, what's one of your fundamental elements, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I always like one of the advice that I always give people is just like being comfortable with your roster. Um, and that's to say that, hey, like it's cool. I see you guys do things. I see, a ton of other streamers do things. And I'm like, man, that is so awesome. But I also just say like, that is really cool. And I just don't have the mod depth, or I don't have the gear on that person, or I don't have this or that. So there is, I think, a little bit of just, I think one of the biggest things that knowing your success is knowing your playstyle and being able to kind of um, get really good at being that player, instead of trying to, I guess, mimic other people. Obviously there is always going to be a element of, hey, I want this guy's really good and I want to take that from him, and this guy's also really good and I want to take this part from him. But also just knowing like, hey, I'm just not that kind of player. Like I can't do that. And we were talking earlier, like I love Gom. I love watching his stuff. It's super incredible, like what he's able to do. But I could never play that way personally. Like it throws me into a panic whenever I see what he's doing. But he's usually just right there, like very calm and in control of the situation. And yeah, I just personally can't. So just I'd say like knowing your play style and fitting your plan, which you guys always talk about on the podcast, fitting your plan to maximize that play style, right? Like force your opponent to play your play style, whether that's heavy defense, heavy offense, heavy whatever, or a mixture of everything. Make your opponent play that style, So I don't know. I guess that's kind of where I go with it.
And that's fair. I think it's I think it's really cool to see you be able to. I mean, it's fun to see people develop their game and be able to see like how they adapt to new things. Like, so you've been around for long enough to remember when Galactic Legends weren't a thing.
Mhm.
What was that like for you? That transition, like was there panic involved? Like, were you? I guess, and two, I mean, I think I remember you saying you didn't really take the game that seriously until a certain point when you just started like destroying people. And like, was that before Galactic Legends? Like, I'm just curious what your transition from no Galactic Legends, like the pinnacle was General Skywalker, maybe Darth Vader, and then we suddenly get these Galactic Legends and everything's different. Like, what were your thoughts there? How did you adapt?
Yeah, yeah, they definitely was a change with the Galactic Legends. I got SLKR, and I remember I met you guys around that time. Like I had SLKR, and when SLKR first came out, it's not that he wasn't good. It was just the understanding that Ray was always going to be on defense, and you basically had to bring your SLKR on offense to beat it. And that was okay because that was sort of my old style. Like I was okay playing a little bit more of an efficiency game than going heavy defense. But the issue with that is that was an immediate 47 with your win. And a lot of times, like there's just not too many squads that are also going to pull that aren't Galactic Legends at that time, at least. And so basically you really had to count on your opponent to mess up, and probably multiple times in order to try to level out that banner difference that just happened because of almost a given thing that you have to do to clear. And so I remember I actually talked to you. I remember talking to a lot of different people, and SOKR also got those reworks and stuff. So it was just like, okay, so I'm going to place mine down too now. And then we got Vader, and it was just such a huge win for me personally, because it's like, okay, I finally have something that kills Ray without using my own SLKR, and it was good banners too. So I would say though, like as we got more Galactic Legends though, it was like, okay, it's time to ramp up the defense, because it was a super fun way for me to play. There was a learning curve though. And yeah, I would just say like ultimately once we got more Galactic Legends, it just opened up this new doorway for me of placing a heavier defense, and figuring out how to play that style. And of course, like everything, there was learning. There was, like I said, that learning curve, and there was those growing pains, if you will. But eventually we got it down, and I've noticed that about a lot of people too. Like they'll try out a new style and they'll be terrible at it, which is kind of a given. And then the biggest thing is if they're serious about it, they'll keep going. But if they're not, then they usually quit. And then that's usually where, I think that they maybe make a mistake personally. But that's just me.
That's fair. Yeah, I think you and I actually share one of my favorite streaming memories with. I didn't really know you that well at that point, but our friend Mudbum had just unlocked Supreme Leader Kylo, and he's gonna face, I think it was 3v3, and he's gonna take down a Rey, and he's all excited. He's like, yes, I have his ultimate, we're ready, we're gonna do it. And I was like, okay, like let's watch it, let's see it. And then like you have to kill, like the strategy was you have to kill the sides, and then and he just went straight for the middle. And at first you and I were both like, oh, he's got like a new tech, he's got new tech, he knows something we don't.
Yeah.
And then Ray just like demolished him. Like it was brutal. It was final. And I was like almost crying laughing.
Oh man, me too. I love it. Like, and I love Mudbum too. But yeah, it was hilarious because like I thought the exact same thing. I was like, oh man, like this guy, I wonder if he's about to show us a way to like actually 52 or 53 Ray, which would be amazing. Like I have like in my head, like I pulled out notepad and pen, and I'm just like, okay, all right, cool. So all right, he's just gunning after Ray. Like I've never seen this before. And then all of a sudden, like he just gets absolutely just demolished. But the way and the reason why we both thought that was because of how confident Mudbum went into that fight. He was just like, oh yeah, we've got it. And like, I'm so glad we finally got SLKR with the ultimate. we're gonna just crush this. And I was like, oh hell yeah, let's see this.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, oh man, yeah, that it was just over. And like the transition of his like joy, his euphoria almost, to just like crushed defeat.
Yeah,
I wouldn't wish that on him, but
oh no.
yeah, it was funny.
Yeah,
So
that's a good learning point. But yeah,
it was. Well, and I guess that's the thing is like, for me, it's about that shared learning stuff, like trying to learn how to play the game, and learn these counters. So you say that not everything that other people do works, and that's a very valuable lesson. But I also think, I mean, we don't have the technology we have today by everyone just reinventing everything from the start. We all build on each other, and similarly, we have that in Galaxy of Heroes, where the community will come up with something, and then everyone else can learn from it and adapt, or you can kind of just get left behind. Like, I'm curious, how much time do you spend watching other creators right now? On a given day, week, whatever.
Yeah, I try to get on. Like, I try to watch some streams usually before I get on. Usually try to say afterwards. And I used to use YouTube a lot more as far as like, hey, looking up counters. But I don't know about you, but I found that like the Twitch sphere is plenty enough for me to just kind of watch 30 minutes here and there and be like, oh wow, that's cool. Like I didn't ever pick up on that before. But beforehand, like that would have been spent on YouTube and seeing what new counters are out for that. So that's me personally. Like I always try to, this sounds kind of weird, but it's almost like you're like a student of the game. You try to know that like, hey, you're having success now, but you have to also kind of stay on top of it, right? Like that's kind of the thing that I think you can get really complacent very quickly in this game, especially when they throw something like they just threw, which is kind of taking a lot of what we knew and that we kind of assumed for the last anywhere between a year to 2 years with those characters, 3-4 with Thrawn, and kind of flipping that upside down and changing that script a little bit. So it's one of the cool things. Like you could, like by far, I know you and I and a lot of other people, we got kind of upset and a little bit, but you can also look at it in a sense of, hey, this is an opportunity to just kind of relearn and reestablish like what it is to be good in this game and stuff like that. And I know it's corny and a lot of people are like, dude, screw that guy. Like he just wanted
Sure.
the nerfs, but like listen, it happened. And yeah, you just gotta if you want to keep learning, and if you don't want to keep learning, then that's fine. That's a totally acceptable way as well of playing the game. You're just probably not going to find the same amount of success you did before.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that, I mean, you can sit down and cry about it, or you can go and solve it. It's always like, it's like a 3-year-old, something will happen and he'll just sit down and start sobbing. And I'm like, dude, I can solve it for you. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is ask me. Like, you just like pick your little self up and come and tell me your issue and we'll solve it. Like, be proactive about it, and instead of just like life is unfair, I guess I won't play. I'm gonna adapt, and we'll, in this case, I solve it for him, but that in a way he's solving it himself. Like, he's using the resources at hand to figure it out. And so, I mean, I think it's the same way. Like, we can just sit here and be like, man, Vader used to be so cool. I really like that.
Yeah.
I'm getting demolished these days because Vader doesn't work good well. Or we could be like, yeah, he used to work well, and now he has a different purpose.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's always been that way though. Like, even before the nerfs, like, I mean, when relics came out, like some of the characters that were good at before and some of the counters that we knew before, like I was just talking about this, right? People that have played this game for only a year and a half, I mean, they legitimately think that Ewoks are trash. And while I said, like, listen, they're not, I'm not advocating that they're an amazing faction or anything. The problem is that like back in the day, and people were asking, why do I have some gear 12? And I was like, dude, like, this was my my crew counter. This was my boss counter back in the day, right? Like, And we had to relearn, like, once people started adding R7 to crew, that this wasn't going to work anymore.
Right.
And it took a loss. Like, it took that on the chin for me to be like, oh crap, okay, so Relics changed that dude like really badly for me.
Right.
And
Well,
now
yeah,
I've got
turned him into Swallow. Yep.
yeah, I got to figure out how the heck I'm going to beat this team now. So, yeah, it's just, we've constantly been in this. We just have never had it in this regard, I think. Like, we've never had it kind of told to us that they're going to refund a lot of stuff and change it.
Right. Well, yeah. This is the first time they've really nerfed things on a pretty big scale like this.
Yeah.
We'll see if that turns into a fiasco or not. But I mean, we at the end of the day, our job is to adapt. Like, we're not just there to complain. Like, I don't know about you. It frustrates me to watch certain streamers and they just sit there and complain, and then they do a lackluster job in GAC, and I'm like, why do I want to watch this? Like, they just want to like blame other people and stuff. And for me, as a, like, I want to be in control. I want to be the guy who's out there who's like, all right, I'm gonna find this counter that no one else has, or maybe some people do have, but like, I'm gonna, not only am I going to start using it consistently and find a way to adapt it, I'm also going to show everyone else how to do it. And
yeah, that's like one of the best things that we get to do, honestly. Like, whenever you figure something out, like, I just want, like, anytime that I figure something out, I'm like, oh man, I just want to make a video. Even though like only maybe 5 people in the world might be like, oh, I was in that same exact circumstance and I didn't have, I wasn't sure if this team was going to work. But like, that's exciting to me. Like, that's what's exciting about being a content creator or a streamer or whatever you want to call it. It's just like, hey, I get to test some stuff out before you guys, and like, I'm just one single data point. But if we can try to replicate this as much as possible, we can maybe determine, good or bad, that this is a thing or not a thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think having that community be able to build with each other, and then, yeah, like, being able to show everyone. Now, like, I remember when I first started doing the Mon Mothma counter against Grievous in 3v3, and I had just stolen it from Clash. Like, it wasn't my idea, but I was like, all right, we're gonna actually, like, do this. We're gonna put the relics on and everything, and everyone is like mind blown. And I got a ton of credit for it, because I mean, you see someone do it and you're like, oh yeah, I saw Zareth. But now people are bored. They're like, can you in your videos, can you just like make it 150% speed? Because I'm bored, because it takes 3 minutes and I know exactly how it goes.
Yeah.
It's common though. Everyone knows that counter now.
Yeah.
So okay. As we start to get to the end here, so if you had to say like the one thing, let's put a twist on it,
Ooh.
because I'd be interested to hear what you think, and we can get cocky here. So, and I'll do the same for you. I think, give me the number one reason you win, and then give me the number one reason you think I win. As a player, just in general.
Okay, so the reason why I win is, again, I would say that I'm just comfortable with what my game plan is, like, going into the fight. Like, I just know, like, I do a decent amount of my homework, I guess, if you will, on the player. I see what they are capable of, and then I make a broad stroke assessment on like what I feel like their skill level is, and or what their tendencies are, and how likely they are to stick to it, and then I create my game plan off of that. And that's probably why I win the way that I win. And then for you, man, honestly, like, I know you, like, you're just, the way you play the game is really smart. Like, the way that I think you play is like, and especially you're just really adaptable, I guess, is really like what I would say. Like, you're very, very adaptable. Like, you're exactly the kind of opponent that I would hate playing, because I almost need the guy that is not adaptable. And that's what I'm kind of talking about with why I'm so successful, is like, I, I, I make the assumption, and I'm usually right, that like, um, based off of what they're going to do, and then like I said, I create the game plan based off of that, and as long as they follow it, and like I've led them to this, to their choices, I usually come out on top. So that's, I guess, where I'd say like you would be a very difficult opponent for me, because I don't know if I can necessarily bait you into whatever the game that I want you to play.
And that's fair. I mean, I think I do a decent job of sniffing out like he really wants me to use Treya here. I can't do it. But yeah, I thanks, man. I appreciate that. So to reciprocate, I think you know, and I won't necessarily. We don't need to talk about why I think I win, because I think I'm pretty great. But
Yeah.
but no, no. Here's the thing though. For you, I think, and this is gonna sound strange because it's something that I think about so much though. I think you have a really good level of humility, which like that in itself is a great characteristic to have in a person. But I think that the thing that for you, like the way that helps you is you don't have this preconceived notion of like this should work, how dare it not work. And so if things go bad, like you can kind of just be like, all right, we're gonna take a step back, we're gonna learn from this, and then the next time something goes bad, or the same thing happens, you're like, we got this. I know what to do. I'm gonna learn from this. Not how dare they cheat on me, or how dare they do this or the other. Like, unless it's legitimate cheating. I know you had recently had someone legitimately cheat, but
Yeah.
but I mean, I think again, you're adaptable too. You address like a situation. You're like, all right, that didn't go well, and that sucks, guys. I'm sorry it didn't go well, but then you don't just like sit there and say blame other people.
Yeah.
You get proactive, and you wanna you get to the next point. And I love at the very start you were saying like you can't play the way Gom does. Like, I don't want to admit that. I don't want to be like, I can't play the way so and so does. I want to just be like, yeah, I can play any play style ever. Like I'm, that's the ego talking.
Yeah.
And you do a good job of like you play within yourself, and I mean,
Yeah.
I think that works.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
Of course, man. Yeah. So that being said, we're basically at the end. All this B-reel footage is like 16 seconds away. So in 16 seconds now, is there any last word you'd like to say?
Yeah, I mean, just ultimately have fun with the game, guys. That is it. It is, you are playing the best way that you can play when you're having fun. And if fun to you is challenging yourself and going 12-0, or if fun to you is you hate GAC but you want to get awesome waves in TB, or you want to be the first person to get the red box in Conquest, or whatever the case is, like find your fun and you're gonna be successful in it. And like it's just that's the best way that I've seen people play the game, is just find your fun and go from there. Find out then if you have fun doing certain things, then find out how to be successful, because there are people out there that want to help. So
Awesome, man. That's great advice. So, guys, go in video description. Go watch Ando. The best way you can win, guys, the best way you can have fun is by emulating exactly what he does every single time. Unless it's emulating me, but...
and unless it's you relicing up a Plo Koon.
Right, yeah. Don't relegate Plo Koon. I wouldn't recommend that. Everything else he does, though, gold. So, Ando, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a true pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was awesome.
Absolutely, man. So, guys, thank you all so much for watching. And remember that in all things, Ando and his commandos prevail.
Hell yeah.